By the turn of the 20th century, many European artists had moved beyond post-impressionism. Reactionism is an important theme to keep in mind while evaluating the history of the avant-garde. In the short period from the 1850s to the turn of the century, we've seen artistic tastes change nearly every decade. As in the world of fashion, modern art put a great deal of value on newness. A style that was already tried by an older generation is not as exciting as something different that is being made by the younger generation. There is a hazard to this way of thinking, though, which served as the eventual downfall of modernity. Namely, there is only so far that a culture can rely on progress alone before it must start searching for answers in the past. Post-impressionism was succeeded in the early 20th century by Expressionism. The general term Expressionism describes a number of different artistic styles that put an importance of inner feelings and emotions over objective depiction. Like the other young artists of his generation, Henri Matisse began his early career by studying the works of the Impressionists and the Post-Impressionists. This early painting by Matisse, entitled Le Désert, displays the influence from earlier artists like Degas and Renoir, who had their starts in the style of realism. This is a later painting by Matisse entitled Harmony in Red. The subject matter in this is the same as that of Le Désert, a domestic scene of a woman setting a table for a meal. Although the depiction of Harmony in Red is much more flatly rendered than that of Le Désert. There is little to suggest that this was painted at all from life. The colors are much more saturated, and there is little variation describing light and shadow. The pattern of the tablecloth seems to blend into the wallpaper, and it is unclear whether the landscape on the left is intended to be read as a window or a hung painting. Matisse's expressionist work takes great influence from Paul Gauguin. Like Gauguin, he wanted to create work that was more about internalized representation than external observation. Matisse's paintings seem almost cartoony in this regard. With a small group of like-minded artists, Matisse helped create the expressionist group in France that came to be known as the Fauves. The name Fauves translates literally from French as wild beasts. As was the case with the Impressionists, the name Fauves was coined by a disgruntled art critic. The work's super-saturated colors and flattened picture planes appear to him as if they were painted by a pack of wild animals. Unlike the Impressionists, though, the Fauves never officially adopted this moniker. The Fauves rarely mixed colors, preferring instead to paint with pure, saturated hues straight from the tube. Even though they were all painters with formal training, they wanted to produce work with a children's art aesthetic. Matisse saw there to be a purity in a child's expression that gets corrupted through age and knowledge. A painting like this one, entitled Joy of Life, aimed to tap into the root of children's creativity. It was the goal of the Fauve André Derain to make paintings with colors that were intentionally disharmonious. He used a natural, highly saturated color to describe a world that is both foreign and familiar. The Fauves did a great part to influence the trajectory of modern painting, although the movement itself only lasted from 1905 to 1907. They are credited for freeing color from having to describe the natural appearance of objects. Color could now be defined as an expressive element independent of the forms that it has always been attached to.